Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. No election yet. Prime Minister shoots down speculation of an early election. Renewed calls for funeral services industry regulations. And later in sports, Cavalier gets first win in the CONCACAF Caribbean Cup. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shane Masters, and here are the details. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has quashed rumors that an early election is looming. The general election is constitutionally due in 2025, while local government elections are due February next year. Speaking at a town hall at the Harmony Beach Park in Montego Bay, St. James last evening, Mr. Holness said he's aware of the speculation that an election could be called soon.
We are a democracy. When elections are due, they are due. But we must not postpone and defer and interrupt our progress for elections.
Mr. Holness says his focus is on managing the affairs of the Jamaican people.
My mind is not on election. My mind is on ensuring that those who are at the base of the society who still have not yet felt the change that is happening, that you will get the chance because your government is not taking its eyes of managing your business and your affairs. In other words, there are those who are power mongers. They just want power. They don't necessarily believe in your progress. And the truth is that when they get power, they don't know what to do with it.
We need answers, the sentiment of some of the island's embalmers and funeral directors. It comes as they continue to impatiently wait on the health ministry to bring regulations to Parliament to govern the country's funeral services industry. Halsheen Burke reports.
Is boiling over in the funeral service sector. It comes as regulations needed to govern the industry are yet to go before Parliament. President of the Jamaica Association of Certified Embalmers and Funeral Directors, Calvin Lynn, says from as far back as the 1990s, the regulations were to be drafted and enacted, and decades later, no enactment. Mr. Lynn says a draft policy was done in 2014. In June, a group of funeral directors also aired their grouses over the time it is taking to have the regulations go before Parliament. At that time, when TVJ News contacted the Health Ministry, we were promised a response. However, to date, the promised response has not materialized. It's why the association has again sought to have its voice heard.
When we try to contact them, are reluctant. The officers there is that they don't respond to our email correspondence. Members of the public are also asking.
Mr. Lynn says the regulations are urgently needed as the funeral service industry in the country is growing at a fast pace, and regulations would ensure that certain professional standards are maintained.
Relatives are complaining to us that ex-places are embalming bodies even without their permission. And when the relatives are in the process of removing it to an appropriate funeral home, they are charged arm and a leg.
But he says according to laws which have been set, there should be no embalming of the bodies until the funeral homes receive documentation such as the cause of death or a burial order. The Funeral Directors Association president also noted that some funeral industry players are charging exorbitant fees for the storage of bodies. In one instance, Mr. Lynn says a family was being charged $200,000. However, that was reduced to $60,000 based on interventions. These are just some of the cases which he says highlight the plight of the sector.
What is happening? Why this regulation is not made into law by now? For us to be guided while you are trained to do the proper thing. We have heard a lot of allegations about who in government operating as untrained people. But that is not my problem.
But what's the next course of action if a response is not forthcoming from the Health Ministry?
Well, I'm not able to say right now because I'm guided by the decision of the members.
Hal Shane Burke, TVJ News.
A serious problem. That's how Minister of Local Government and Rural Development Desmond McKenzie described the flooding situation in Capitol Heights and Green Pond, St. James. Karen Simpson reports.
Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie was part of a tour that focused on the infrastructural issues within some of the divisions in St. James. A concern, the minister said, as we get deeper into the 2023 Atlantic hurricane season.
I saw for myself first on the condition of the drain, which is an old earth drain, which exits into this drain, which takes it into the North Gully. And everybody knows that when Montego Bay floods at times, it is because of the lack of capacity of the North Gully to take the water.
Mr. McKenzie said he has observed real challenges in the area and has a recommendation.
I am recommending to the MP and to the councillor and the municipality that we will provide the funds to clean the drain. Because you have to clean sections of the drains in order to ascertain what needs to be done. And that is the first thing that we're going to be doing, is to clean the drain so that the technical team can have a look to see the conditions that exist.
As part of the tour, Mr. McKenzie said special attention was paid to roads and bridges.
Look at some bridges we are concerned about at least one of the bridges. We stopped and spoke with residents of the community, and they themselves have expressed concern about the condition of the bridge and the road. Again, the government is committed in responding to the demands of the people.
Carrie Simpson, TVJ News.
Member of Parliament for St. James West Central, Marlene Malahoo IV, says she is pleased with road work done under the Goodwill Project, spearheaded by China Harbour Engineering Company Limited, Czech. Now, several communities benefited from the project. Mrs. Malahoo IV says with the new school year just days away, the long-awaited road work is a step in the right direction.
The children who will be using the road, Pega Road, coming off Tucker Road, coming around on the Fairfield Road into Irwin, will feel a lot safer come the start of the 2023 school year. And I'm absolutely delighted for them.
She says after months of back and forth with the different agencies, her efforts have finally borne fruit.
I have been relentless in the representation to get the road fixed. When we came upon our own challenges internally, with the NWA, I looked at every other avenue, and China Harbour has responded, and I'm very pleased.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us, more stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Scores of administrative staff gathered at the University of Technology this morning to protest what they describe as stalled salary negotiations. Reports said that the administrative staff has been undergoing salary negotiations with the Finance Ministry for at least a salary at 80% of the market price. This, they say, has been an avoidably lengthy and delayed process. Reports are that both the university's academic and other high-level staff members have received a compensation revision, which includes retroactive salaries with a much quicker turnover. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie is stressing that Jamaica cannot be too prepared this hurricane season. The warning comes at the start of what is usually the busiest month of the season, September.
Minister of Local Government and Rural Development Desmond McKenzie said based on the history of hurricanes in Jamaica, this is the time of the season when the Caribbean gets a lot of activity.
The end of August, going into September, going down to the end of October. Remember, we had Gilbert in October. So it is clear that we are not, Gilbert or September, we are not out of the hurricane season. But what we are doing, as I said before, I had an all-day meeting with all the disaster coordinators and the ADPEM to look at where we are in terms of our preparation. We can't be too prepared because we don't know when.
Coming out of a recent meeting with disaster coordinators, he said he was updated on the preparation at the local level.
We are expecting 9 more than was predicted active hurricane in the region this season. And we see what is happening in Florida. It is an indication that the region is in the belt, that anything can happen.
However, Mr. McKenzie assured that the island is in good standing at the moment as it relates to responding to emergencies.
The municipalities have been cleaning drains. There are some more drain cleaning to be done, but as I said before, we have done the work, and let us continue to be on our knees, to pray that we don't get any system, not even passing on the outside of the island, because we know it can turn back all that this government has achieved over the last 7 years.
Kelisha Williams, TVJ News.
And it's time for the Business Minute.
Producers in the manufacturing industry saw a marginal decline in the cost of outputs. On an annual basis up to July, the Statistical Institute of Jamaica says the cost to produce goods in the manufacturing industry fell by 1.9%. This was mainly due to a 20.2% decline in the cost of fuel. But there were increases in the cost to produce food, beverages and tobacco, as well as chemicals and chemical products. Output prices for producers in the month of July alone in the manufacturing industry increased by 0.6%. The increase in the index for the manufacturing industry was mainly due to a 4.1% rise in the cost of refined petroleum products. Further afield, oil prices jumped by more than 1% on Friday and were on track to snap a 2-week losing streak buoyed by expectations of tightening supplies. This as Saudi Arabia is widely expected to extend a voluntary 1 million barrel per day oil production cut in October. Brent crude was up $1.01 or about 1.2% at $87.84 per barrel. Meanwhile, the U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose 99 cents, also about 1.2% to $84.62 per barrel. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Hal Shaneberg.
Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, the International Monetary Fund IMF has approved a staff-monitored program SMP with Haiti that runs through March 31 next year. The Washington-based financial institution said the new 9-month SMP was designed by IMF staff and the Haitian authorities, keeping in mind Haiti's fragility and capacity constraints while supporting the authorities' economic policy objectives. It said the SMP may be extended by 3 additional months at the request of the authorities through June 2024. On the international scene, Thailand's king has reduced the 8-year prison sentence of former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra to 1 year. Mr. Thaksin, who returned home last month after 15 years of self-imposed exile, was immediately sent to prison. He was then moved to the luxury wing of a state hospital after complaining of heart problems. Mr. Thaksin has always said the outstanding sentences over charges of corruption and abuse of power were politically motivated. And Ukraine has opened more than 3,000 criminal charges over Russia's alleged crimes against children in the country, including dozens of torture cases. The allegations include murders, mutilations, abduction of children, forced displacement, deportation, sexual violence against children, and kidnapping. Russia has repeatedly denied these accusations of torture and human rights abuses. And those are the top regional and international stories. I'm Carrie-Ann Simpson.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, Jermaine Brown will have your midday sports report.